Some of you might have read the books of Ayn Rand. She wrote fiction and non-fiction during her lifetime. And her mission, it seems, was to help people understand that there is something deeply moral about capitalism, that freedom is vital to creativity, and that the harm that is possible when well-meaning governments try to help, they very often make a big mess of things. Well, Tsfany is the head of the Ayn Rand Institute in the US, and I cornered him for a little chat at CPAC this weekend. Take a look. I'm so pleased to be joined by Tsfany from the Ayn Rand Institute. She's a brilliant author who's honoured by this organisation. Tal, thank you so much for joining me today. Tell me, what does the Ayn Rand Institute do and why does that work matter?
The Institute was established after her death by her intellectual heir, and it's an educational organization trying to propagate her ideas, her books, both the novels and the fiction and the non-fiction works of philosophy. We believe she brings a whole new perspective. She's really an Aristotelian philosopher who is explaining a lot of what's going on in the world, and she's a defender of liberty and freedom. I think on the most fundamental level, she explains why liberty, why freedom. She gives us a new perspective, and it's great to be here and support liberty.
It's really prescient too, because when we talk to young people in the community, they seem to have less of an appreciation of the value of liberty than I've seen in a really long time. And they almost see liberty as a license to harm others, rather than the essence of what it means to be human and the ability to access your capacity to contribute to the world.
Right.
How do we make the modern case for liberty in a way that helps the centre-right of politics make its best contribution to making the lives of others better?
That's a great question. Actually, I'm going to talk about it tomorrow. First, I think we need to ask ourselves, why are we losing the fight for liberty? And you have to go really deep to understand that the left has taken the moral high ground. If you think about how they think about themselves, and the good doers, as they call themselves, is there for the poor, for the underprivileged. We are the greedy capitalists if we are for freedom. They are, for the common good, and we are individualists. And we cannot escape from the fact that America, where I come from, not originally, by the way, I'm an Israeli, is the land of the individual. Pursue your own life, your own happiness. And so if we really want to understand why people are flocking to the left, is they're perceived as more moral, as they're the good doers, they're for others, they're for the weak, for the environment. And we are for profit and selfishness. And Ayn Rand really goes deep to explain how that connects with human nature. And so if I won't do that in a 5-minute interview, but my talk is going to go through how Ayn Rand explains the nature of human beings and why we, as conceptual beings, need liberty to do what we do, which conceptualize and integrate and reason, and that faculty requires the absence of force or even the threat of force. So if we really want to win back the narrative of why liberty, we have to go a little deeper into philosophy and rediscover the reason why liberty, and not just say, the principle of non-aggression. Let's start with that. People just don't accept that.
And we've got to make it relevant to the lives that people are living day to day.
Yes.
And if they can't see, and perhaps in this age, more importantly, feel why liberty is doing good things, then it's an easy thing to reject.
Exactly.
I like to think of it in terms of the way Barry Goldwater expressed it back in The Conscience of a Conservative. People like to think of conservatives as being all about dollars and cents, when really the shoe is on the other foot. It's the socialists that think of us all as economic units that must be progressed at a rate determined by somebody else. And it is the conservative and the person who appreciates liberty that understands we're all created in the image of God with our own unique gifts and talents to discover on this adventure that is life. And that, by harnessing that, is how we help everybody, including the most marginalised, be their very best.
And that's what's required. The beauty of Ayn Rand as a thinker is she's both a novelist, a romanticist, if you will, showing us what's possible. If you read The Fountainhead, and I know you did, you know the image of Howard Rourke as the architect, the uncompromising, what you call first-hander, that has a vision for his life, and he's willing to pay the price when he has no customers. But he is kind of the role model of what it means to live in a free society for the sake of pursuing your own values. And that's what the left doesn't understand. They don't have a role model of who you are as a human being to express your humanity and uniqueness. That's what they don't. I grew up in a kibbutz. A kibbutz is a commune. Yep. And when I was 13 years old and got a present for my bar mitzvah, 13 years old, and I got a tape recorder, my teacher came to take it away from me because it was not equal. Right. And I remember the way I replied to him. I was very proud of myself of coming up with this analogy, which is like we're not ants, we're humans. We need to express ourselves. I want to listen to my music, and so Ayn Rand gives us a kind of a vision of what it means to express yourself in a free society. Because I always, when I talk to students, like, freedom for what? Why are we fighting for freedom? To pursue our happiness. This is the genius of Jefferson, right? So what does it mean to pursue one's happiness, and why human happiness requires leave me alone. Let me do what I want to do. Don't let anyone tell me what to choose to do. I want to study ants, or I want to fly to the moon, or I want to, put out a novel. Whatever it is, that requires freedom. And the human mind collapses under the threat of force and coercion. And that's where we need to go in order to build a narrative that will actually stick with people today. So that's what I'm going to argue in my talk tomorrow, and hopefully give everybody another, if you will, intellectual ammunition to fight for liberty.
Thank you for coming to CPAC. I love that we get to talk about the big ideas here, and thank you for coming such a very long way to help us better use the ideas that we know work in the language that's going to work for Australians today. Thank you so much, Tal.
Thank you for having me, and it's a pleasure. Thank you.